Hello everyone, my name is Identity, and today I'm going to be making a character sheet. But this time, I've got something a little bit different to make. What do you all know about the Chimera? Maybe you'll know about its connection to the demon lord Demogorgon. Perhaps you'll just know that it's a very simple monstrosity, large monstrosity to be precise. And of course, most people will know that I am typing in the wrong stats for this creature. But that's not the case this time, because today I want to ask you a question. With a creature that has the head of a dragon, a lion, and a goat, what kind of attention does that attract other than the odd adventurer? But I got to thinking, with dragons being so rare nowadays, due to constant wars and adventurers seeking glory, how many dragons are left? You know, what if the cult of the dragon got an idea? And yes, when I say cult of the dragon, I'm talking about the same cult that turned ordinary dragons into Draco Liches. So here's my question. What if the cult of the dragon turned the Chimera from this CR6 creature of rage and greed? What if they just captured them and decided, I'm going to make more dragons using this thing? Well, this is what you get when all of their efforts come to fruition. This is a chimera, but instead of it being the terrifying beast you're used to, it's been ripped from its dragon side. Far slower, far weaker. And a lot stupider. What a lot of people always tend to forget is that the Chimera is a creature, well, it already was a creature of instinct. It didn't really have much going for it other than its basic instincts. But that's what it got through with. But those instincts were always clouded by the greed of the dragon. But now, all of that has been removed. Thanks to one little detail. Now, the greed, the language, and the wings of the dragon, along with its fire breath, have all been removed now. So, what do you get with that? Well, for starters, if you do look at a dragon worm, you will note that there's a lot of stats that are very similar. This thing utterly depended on being part dragon half the time. Being dragon gave it wings, fire breath, and strength beyond measure. Now, without those wings or other strengths, it's just a simple two-headed creature. Sure, it still has its multi-attack, and it still has the strength of the lion, but that's not very convincing, is it? The Chimera is also no longer smart enough. If this thing ever saw its original head, it wouldn't be excited or anything. It's just an animal. In fact, to my DMs, if you're curious, it would make a bit more sense for these things to be very skittish of anything lizard-like. A random lash out at a dragonborn or lizard folk would not be out of line, due to the fact that the kobolds and cultists that captured these things only took good care of them as long as the dragon head was connected. Now, you're probably wondering why exactly I'm giving it this kind of a stat sheet instead of just trying to come up with something more original. The thing that I took from was the main stat sheet of the goat and the lion and tried to keep it as strong as I could, but still making it very clearly weaker. It had to go down in strength and charisma the most, because that was where it was getting the most from the dragon, obviously. I will say, though, if anything, I wish I could have given this thing a bit more AC. 11 AC was not what I was hoping when making this thing, but unfortunately, even the original Chimera itself didn't have a lot of dex, and both the lion and the goat don't get any artificial dex boosts, or armor boosts. It's one of the few times where, yes, for these two beasts, their armor class is Dex plus 10. It was almost weird to me to see that, in all honesty. I will say one thing, though, and that it got fairly lucky in the damage department. Still getting at least a +5 to hit, along with a fair amount of damage throughout. The bite does piercing, the claws do slashing, and the ram does bludgeoning. So, this thing can do all out kinds of damage, but keep in mind, DMs, it has no magic resistance, and no special immunities. So even poison damage will still be scary. And scared this thing will be. However, it can at least do a good amount of damage to other things. So we don't have to worry too much about this thing struggling. Now, though, to get to what the party might have to worry about. Keep in mind that it is still a big monstrosity that can be a problem. And for the record, this is the maximum amount of hit points. Just so you know, unfortunately they didn't get very lucky with Con. Goats are not that healthy in D&D, I guess, although mountain goats are. Mountain goats do, however, get a bit of a better deal in that regard. But yeah, just note that they only get 5d10 health, and this is the highest it can go. So, if one of your party mates wants a pet, or you just want to give your party something challenging, I guess, do try to keep that in mind. Although, do note that due to them not being combined with the dragon anymore, I gave them a lot more of their original instincts. So, they do actually get pack tactics. So, do keep that in mind. With lions and goats both being herd creatures, they might just find it prudent to start being more company. But now you're probably wondering, why should I be afraid of this thing? It's barely stronger than the CR1, so surely I can take care of it no problem, right? Let's take a look at those abilities. Keen Smell. Advantage on perception checks is no joke for early levels. Even later levels, that can still mean something. Pack Tactics means that these things do in fact do better in a group, and advantage with a +5 to hit is pretty scary. Not to mentioning, with all of their other attacks having something to do with both dex or strength saving throws, by the way, that'll also include any saving throws of spells, getting advantage on all of that is still pretty good. Along with their best attack, Charging Pounce. I know I put it in backwards, but it's still a pretty good attack. Once it hits, they immediately ram you for 1d4 damage, and they get to make a bite as a bonus action. That's another 1d8. All to top it off with a 1d6 claw. And that's just one turn. So always be wary of these creatures. As for the less important stuff, years of age, 10 to 15 years, males, 570 pounds, and females stay a solid 500. Also keep in mind they have a passive perception of 13. And that'll about do it. So let me know what you guys think of this creature in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.